You ready for a career in real estate in the state of Hawaii? The first thing what you will have to do is to prepare for the exam. Today's video, I want to introduce you to the 9 most important concepts that build the foundation not only to pass the exam but also to proceed a nice and challenging real estate career. My name is Eger. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams Honolulu, and I want you to be ready for the exam and have a wonderful career. So let's dive right into it. Before we get started, subscribe right now to my channel on the subscribe button below. Activate the bell, not only because I'm such a nice real estate agent, but also because my channel is all about the real estate market here in Hawaii. Beautiful listings, upcoming listings, market statistics, and a lot more. Today's video is all about 9 concepts that you need to know in order to be ready. So watch all the way to the end. Let's go. The first concept that I want to introduce to you is the difference between real property and personal property. In general, we can say that all property falls within those 2 categories. So if you physically can move something, it's called personal property. Here it is important to memorize the 2 terms, immovable and movable. Also, the distinction between both has real implications for the taxation as well. Now, what is real property? Real property is the land, building, everything that is immovable and things that are attached to a property. While movable materials such as metal, wood, and other building materials can be moved, they will become real property as soon as they are attached to the land and the property. If you have any questions, just comment below. Personal property can be broken down into 2 categories: chattels and intangibles. Chattels refer to all type of property that is tangible, such as clothes, furniture, and so forth. When chattels are attached to the land, they become a part of real property, which then is known as fixtures. Now, if a fixture is to be removed, however, for example, when a tenant is moving out, then this can become or could be considered personal property. A good example for here would be a dentist chair that is temporarily fixed to the property, but once the dentist, he or she moves out, it will become part of personal property as he or she will take out the chair. On the other side, there's intangible forms of personal property. Examples here would be legal rights to the property, licenses, as well as insurance policies, and so forth. The second concept that is important to know about is the type of property, which is also known as estates in property. There's basically 2 types of estates. The first one is estates that are indefinite in its duration, also known as freehold estates. The second type of estates is less than freehold estates. So basically estates with ownership for a limited amount of time, which is also known as leases. Let's talk about the different types of less than freehold estates. There are 4 less than freehold estates: estate for use, periodic tenancy, estate at will, and estate at sufferance. Estate for years is a lease that has a specific beginning as well as an end date. And as it suggests, it normally lasts for several years. At the end of the lease, the tenant is expected to vacate the property. Neither the tenant nor the landlord are required to give notice in order to terminate the lease. Periodic tenancy, for example, has no specific ending date for the term of the lease. The landlord and the tenant agreed, and in this case, the tenant can occupy the property indefinitely. If one party wants to terminate the arrangement, each party agreed to give prior notice to one another. Examples could be a week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year agreement, and so forth. The next less than freehold estate is called estate at will. This type of arrangement continues indefinitely until either party terminates the agreement. The landlord can ask the tenant to move immediately, and the tenant can also move at any time and give notice at the end of the arrangement. The last type would be an estate at sufferance. Here the tenant would stay too long, and which would refer to when a tenant who had lawful possession of the property stays longer than the actual lease term without the owner's consent. Now the freehold estates I want you to remember is 1. Fee simple absolute, fee simple defeasible, and 3. A life estate. Fee simple absolute is the actually best form of real property ownership. It means that the owner or the owners can do whatever they wish and want with the property. The owner has the right of possession, the right of alienation, and the right of exclusion. Fee simple defeasible is a term and type of property ownership where the ownership is actually dependent on specific conditions. If those conditions would be violated, the property may have to be returned to the grantor or to a specific third party. A life estate allows one person to remain at a home until he or she dies. And once the person passes away, the property would actually pass over to the new owner. The 2 benefits that I want to mention here is that a life estate can be used to avoid probate, as well it gives a homeowner or the children the opportunity to own the home while the parents are still living in it. The 4 types of government powers that you need to be aware of are police power, then there is eminent domain, the next one would be taxations, and last but not least as cheat. Police power is the power where they would not take the property away from you, but they will actually dictate on how to use the property. Some examples that I can mention here are zoning, rent control, building restrictions, and so forth. Eminent domain, however, is the process in where they actually would take away the property from you for public use and in exchange will provide you with compensation. This process is also known as condemnation. The next concept that is essential for you to remember is the types of ownership. There's concurrent estates where one would actually have ownership with others, and then on the other side there's the sole ownership, which is also referred to severalty. The 2 types of concurrent estates are joint tenancy and tenancy in common. Joint tenancy comes from what is known as the right of survivorship, which actually means that one person dies, the interest of the property will actually be passed on to the surviving party without having to go through a probate or the actual court system. Tenancy in common, on the other hand, allows for percentage-based ownership, also meaning that upon the death of an owner, the assets don't necessarily automatically are going over to the surviving partner, but instead this allows the assets to get distributed as stipulated in a will. The next concept that I want you to remember are the elements of value. The acronym that is easy to remember here is STUD. My good old friend Dave Livingston is always calling me that, but that's on another note. The S stands for scarcity, the T stands for transferability, U stands for utility, and D stands for demand. Scarcity meaning how much is there of the property. Transferability, can it be sold? Utility, can it actually be used? And demand stands for if there's anybody that would buy the property. So now, as we know the essential elements of value, we need to learn about the 3 types of how the property can depreciate. Number 1 is economic obsolescence. Number 2, functional obsolescence. And last but not least, there's physical deterioration. Economic obsolescence refers to the actual loss of the value resulting from economic factors. For example, would be an opening of a loud club right next to the house, or if there's a brand new airport built. Functional obsolescence is referred to the reduction of the property's usefulness or its desirability due to outdated design features and so forth. Physical deterioration is referred to the loss of physical efficiency of an asset as it ages. A common term here that is known as wear and tear. And next, I'd like for you to remember and to understand the concept and the difference between a deed versus the property title. The title actually stands for the ownership of the property, whereas the deed is actually referred to the evidence of the transfer. Here you can always remember that the deed is an official written document, while the title actually refers to the concept of ownership rights. The next concept I want you to understand are the rules and regulations of fair housing laws. As a realtor, there's a code of ethics to follow, and the fair housing laws deal with discrimination. Remember the Act of 1968 and understand the terms of blockbusting, panic selling, redlining, steering, and panic peddling. Steering is referred to a practice of influencing biased choice of communities based on the characteristics such as race, color, religion, disability, and so forth. Blockbusting is referred to an unethical, unlawful practice of creating fear in property owners so they want to sell the property at lower prices. Redlining is referred to an unethical lending practice in which the lenders do not give loans to specific type of people, as I mentioned, to specific race, color, religion, and so forth. And this is given to different neighborhoods. I do recommend for each and every single one of you studying for the exam to pay close attention to this topic, as you want to be a role model when understanding and implementing the code of ethics for real estate and be a great real estate agent. There's absolutely a lot more to learn, but these 9 concepts are essential and a part of the fundamental knowledge of every real estate practice. In addition to that, I do recommend to study vocabulary and mastering the terminology. Do lots of practice tests and also be well prepared for both the national exam as well as the state exam. There's a lot of great real estate schools here out there in Hawaii. My personal favorite one is Abe Lee with Abe Lee Seminars. I will put his information in the description. And if you have any other question or any further question, write them in the comments or reach out to me directly. Aloha, and I'll see you on the other side. And I hope to see you soon on this channel here in Hawaii.